Good evening, everyone. We're truly glad to have you back with us tonight. Wherever you're watching from, thank you for joining us. Before we begin, tell us in the comments, what time is it where you are right now? Is it late in the night? Let me know. Make yourself comfortable. Dim the lights. And remember, you're watching Sleep Horror Stories. My name is Sarah, and I work in the Chicago headquarters of one of the biggest banks in the country. I'm a manager of the department that handles the biggest client accounts, large companies and high-level business customers. Not your average walk-in clients. We're talking multi-million-dollar accounts that require customized attention. There are only 5 of us in the department, but our job is crucial, and many nights we're stuck late cleaning up messes or working through urgent requests. And it's during those late hours, when the office is dead, quiet, and practically empty, that I've experienced some truly unsettling things. But first, a little context. Before a major renovation, the office was split into individual sections with thin walls and blinds. Every department had its own enclosed space. Distractions were minimal. You barely even noticed what was happening on the other side. But a few years ago, they remodeled everything, tore down the walls, and replaced them with floor-to-ceiling glass dividers. Now the whole floor looks like one giant fishbowl. It's all open, transparent, and to some deeply unsettling. Before the renovation, I'd already had a few strange experiences. The first one happened around 8 p.m. I was exhausted and stopped by the ladies' room before heading home. When I walked in, I saw that the first stall was closed. I headed to the third one, but as I sat down, I began to hear something, faint crying. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make me feel deeply uncomfortable. I figured someone was having a breakdown in the first stall. When I stepped out, I gently asked if she was okay, if she needed help. No response. I washed my hands, and the crying continued. I didn't want to leave her like that, so I said I'd be outside for a few minutes if she wanted to talk. That's when I heard it, a soft voice whispering, "Thank you." It sounded young, like a woman in her 20s. I stepped out and waited by the door, but after a few minutes, no one came out. Confused, I went back in. The stall door was open, completely empty. I checked all the other stalls. No one. There's only one exit, and I was standing right in front of it the whole time. That night, I went home with a heavy feeling in my chest. My husband tried to tell me maybe I'd heard someone from another floor, but I know what I heard. That voice had been right there in the room with me. The second incident happened a few months before the office remodel. This time it was around 7:30 p.m. The building was practically empty, just a few cleaning staff, security guards, and one elevator operator. Yes, the building still had those back then. I called for the elevator, and when it arrived, it was empty. I stepped in and pressed the button for the lobby. Suddenly, the doors slammed shut, and the elevator shot upward fast. I wasn't going to the lobby. I was going up, way up. My heart started to race. I thought it might be a malfunction, but then the elevator stopped abruptly on one of the upper floors. The doors opened slowly, revealing a pitch-black hallway. Silence. Not a sound. I kept pressing the lobby button, but the doors wouldn't close. That's when I heard it. Whispers. Soft and eerie, coming from the dark hallway. I squinted and saw shadows moving between the offices. My finger hammered the button again and again, and just like that, the elevator finally closed and descended. When I reached the lobby, the operator was standing there like nothing happened. I asked if the elevator had been acting up. He said no, it was working perfectly fine. That floor? I visited it again during the day a week later. Looked completely normal, but I've never dared to go there at night again. Fast forward to after the renovations. The place looked brand new, big, modern, open. With so many employees on the floor now, it became normal to see unfamiliar faces. One night, I stayed late to finish some reports. I don't like taking work home, so I pushed through until about 9 p.m. I was the only one left. At least I thought I was. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a dim computer screen still on in the client services area. There was someone sitting there, a figure just barely visible in the low light. I thought it was another poor soul stuck working late, so I walked over to offer a hand, maybe a cup of coffee. But as I turned the corner, passing a thick support column, the figure vanished. Just gone. The screen was off too. I called out. No reply. When I got to the lobby, I asked the operator if anyone had come down recently. He said no, just me. A week later, we were handling a major issue with one of our top accounts. My co-worker, let's call her Tanya, and I were locked in trying to resolve it. I hadn't even noticed him at first, but when I looked up, there he was. Same spot, same cubicle, same silhouette. I asked Tanya if she saw him. She did. And when I told her what had happened a week before, we came up with a plan to approach him from two sides. One of us would go around. The other would stay by the elevators. Tanya waited near the hallway while I crossed the office. My heart was pounding, and just like last time, the second I passed that same corner, he was gone. Tanya waved me over, pale and frantic. She'd seen the same thing. He vanished before her eyes. The screen shut off on its own. We waited, hoped he'd reappear somewhere in the dark office. But nothing moved, and in that silence, we both agreed it was time to go. Weeks passed. The office stayed busy. No late shifts, no ghostly figures. Then one night I stayed late again. I knew I was alone. I'd accepted that whoever, or whatever, he wasn't human. As I packed up, I turned toward the glass wall and said aloud, "Good night." And I swear to you, he whispered something back, something I couldn't understand, but it turned my stomach. The whole ride down in the elevator, I felt him watching me through the glass. I didn't dare turn around, but I knew. He was there. I haven't seen him in over a year, but I think that's only because I don't stay late anymore. These days, we leave in groups, 5, 6 people at a time. Still, I can't shake the feeling that he's still there. And even as I type this from my desk on a quiet night shift, I feel that same tightness in my chest, like he knows I'm writing about him. This building has secrets. And behind the glass, behind the fake smiles and modern lighting, something waits. My name is Mark, and I'm from Houston. I've been working on a garbage truck for the past couple of years. It's a dirty job, not always pleasant, but honestly, it's usually pretty chill. My coworkers are good guys, and after a while, you stop noticing the smell or the cockroaches. But the one thing I still haven't gotten used to, the shadows, the weird stuff that happens out there at night. You see, this job's done under the cover of darkness. And for someone like me, someone who's always been sensitive to the paranormal, it's hard not to notice when something isn't right. Sometimes it's the alleys, sometimes it's the corners, and sometimes it's the thing riding with you. This happened in early February. It was freezing. The kind of night where the wind slaps your face every time you turn your head. I was on the back of the truck, riding along with my buddy. Let's call him Josh. The truck's a big one, with that massive compactor in the back. You toss the bags in, hit the button, and it crushes everything down. We were doing our usual route, probably talking football or something, when we stopped at one of the corners to load up a pile of garbage bags. That was the first moment I knew something was off. I can't explain why, but my heart started racing for no reason. I looked around, quiet streets, a few parked cars. Normal stuff, but inside me, something felt wrong. Up to that point, everything had been routine. Grab the bags, toss them in, press the button, and hop back on. But after that stop, I couldn't shake this uneasiness. I kept glancing around, scanning the rooftops, the trees, the power lines. Josh noticed. He asked if I was okay. I told him, yeah, just tired. But then it happened again. That feeling. The back of my neck lit up with goosebumps. My chest got tight. I knew something was watching me. I finally admitted to Josh that I wasn't feeling right, that something was seriously off. And just as I was saying it, I caught something, just for a second, out of the corner of my eye. There was someone or something on top of the truck. I turned fast, heart pounding. For a split second, I saw it. A pale hand, a glimpse of a face. A person crouched on the roof of the garbage truck. I tried to scream, but my throat locked up. The only thing that kept me from falling off was the death grip I had on the safety bar. We pulled up to the next stop, but instead of helping load bags, I climbed straight onto the truck's roof. Adrenaline was in full control. I needed to see if it was real, but there was nothing there. Just the cold steel and the smell of old trash. I started hyperventilating. My coworkers were yelling, asking what the hell was wrong with me. I couldn't answer at first. Josh grabbed my pant leg, snapped me out of it. I told them I saw someone on the truck. Someone with skin like paper. They laughed, not because they were mean, but because it sounded ridiculous. There were 5 of us, including the driver, and no one else had seen a thing. They knew I believed in ghosts. So they shrugged it off and said we needed to keep working. Couldn't stop the whole route over Mark's Ghost of the Week. Honestly, I wanted to believe they were right, that I imagined it. We got back on the truck. I checked my watch, almost midnight. I was still shaky, but a little calmer. Josh asked if I'd slept well lately. Try to make small talk, keep it light. But I told him straight up I knew what I saw. We went quiet for a few blocks. Then it came back. That same sharp fear punching me right in the chest. But this time, it wasn't me who screamed. Josh let out this choke yell. I turned around, and he was frozen, staring at the compactor. It was running, crushing garbage, but no one had pressed the button. Another guy, Carlos, asked Josh what the hell was wrong with him. Josh looked him dead in the eye and said, "There's someone inside." You could hear a pin drop. Carlos, who never backs down from anything, jumped up and started banging on the truck walls, yelling at whoever, or whatever, was inside to come out. No response. The driver leaned out the window and told us to cut the crap and get back to work. But now the mood had changed. Everyone was tense. Even Carlos kept glancing over his shoulder. I asked Josh if he'd seen what I had earlier. He wasn't sure. He said it looked pale, with long black hair. Something staring back at him from inside the garbage. For a second, I wondered, what if it was a body? A murder victim, not a ghost? But that theory died the moment I felt it again. That heavy pressure on my chest. My skin crawled. I looked up. There she was, on top of the truck again, staring at me. Just for a second, and then gone. I've seen some creepy stuff in my life. But this wasn't just spooky. It was evil. This thing didn't just scare me. It wanted me to know I was in danger. We kept driving, turning down street after street. The others didn't see her again, but I did. At one point, about 20 minutes later, I spotted her standing at the end of a dark alley. Tall, pale, motionless, her long hair covering most of her face. But I knew she was looking at me. I could feel it. It's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in all my time on the job. Josh and I still talk about that night. We've tried coming up with explanations, but none of them make sense. All we know for sure is that something followed us on that route. Something not human.